So today we're gonna make pasta e fagioli, which is a pasta dish. Well, essentially, it's almost like a bean stew first, and then you can, or normally you add pork or bacon, or in this case I'd make it with bacon, but it really should be with pancetta. But since we're on budget, we'll do it with bacon, and I'm going to show you the ingredients here. First off, we're going to use celery and onion to make the sofrito, including carrots. And you see that the carrots are quite big, and I like it that way. You're going to sort of chunk it up with a mixer and see how much of a chunkiness you want to have it in it before you serve or before you add the pasta. I use pinto beans. In this case, it could be cannellini beans as well. Doesn't really matter. This gets a slightly more brownish color with this one, but essentially it's still a very creamy bean, so it doesn't really matter. Here you see the bacon. So we use that instead of pancetta because it is much cheaper, and also it is still a good product. When you fry it, it adds a lot of flavor to the sofrito and also elevates the dish. I have macaronis here. There's a dark macaroni, so a little bit better for the sort of glycemic index. Not awesome, but it's still a little better. But still gonna get good. Any small pasta really will do. This is really cheap, at least here in Finland. You pay maybe maybe 80 cents for a kilo, so it's really cheap. Then some aromatics, some rosemary and a bay leaf, a good olive oil that I got from my good friend Mats, and then here is a little bit of a secret thing that normally some of the Italians use. Actually, they bake a garlic, and I baked the garlic, which I'm gonna press into the stew. So without further ado, let's get going. This is a big recipe. As you can see here, it's for at least 6 people with seconds. And with meat, I calculated that this is sort of €1.40 perhaps per serving using Finnish prices. But if you take away the bacon, you could probably get down to €1. So let's get cooking. So I start off by using a Dutch oven, or in this case it's actually a Swedish oven, or just a big casserole dish that has enough to preserve the heat. Something that I inherited from my uncle, actually. It's from Kokkums. It's really good quality. If you can find that, on people selling it online, second-hand vintage, it's great stuff. So I use part lard, part olive oil, mainly because I had lard from, cooking a big pork fatty dish before. So you start up by actually adding the carrots and the celery, and you fry that for a few minutes until they get quite soft. It doesn't need color, but it needs to be soft. So I'll do that, and I'll go tune back in when I get that further on in the video. Sort of 5 minutes in, I'm adding the bacon, and I'll continue cooking. Now we're sort of 12 minutes into the cooking, and it's looking good. Look at the colors, it looks really good. Still needs to fry a little bit more in order to get some color on the bacon and for the bacon to release all of the flavor. Now I'm going to add some of my aromatics. As you can see, we'll have the garlic, which I have taken away, peeled from the garlic, from the actual sort of overall cloves. I add that, and I also add the aromatics, and then that can then fry for another 3 or 4 minutes before I add the beans, and I'll come back to that a little bit later. We are now 16 minutes in by cooking this, and its smell is amazing. You can see the garlic there, and particularly the rosemary has really released. So now I'm adding the beans. Here But what you also need to do is to add chicken stock. I forgot to show you that you need to top it up with stock. I use stock. Some people use normal water, tap water. I find that it releases a lot of really nice flavors, and as well it gives you a little bit more salt. You don't need to use salt in the end, and it adds more depth, I find. If you're vegetarian, of course, you don't use the bacon, nor do you use chicken stock, which I have, so you use vegetable stock or just normal tap water. So now we're around 25 minutes in, and now comes for the first secret tip about not throwing away stuff, which really makes a real big difference in your cooking, especially Italian food. You know these things, a pecorino or a Parmigiano ends that normally people throw away. You add that, you just pop those into this stew, and it really adds an amazing amount of flavor. And instead of throwing them away, this is what the Italians use. Nothing goes to waste, and adds a ton of flavor. So you just keep them in there into the end, and then you can lift them out in the end. You know, we're going to use a mixer in order to make this a little bit more smooth. So before that, you take it out. But that's sort of one secret tip, and really something that you should all know when you're cooking on a budget, or just generally. Just don't throw stuff away, because it adds a ton of flavor, and there's millions of things that you can do that, which people normally throw away, but it's just a waste, because it is something that it adds another dimension to, especially stews. So now we are around 40 minutes in with the beans, in total around 1 hour. As you can see from the bean, it's sort of ready. So now we can move in with the mixer. For that, I have removed the aromatics, but I haven't removed the cheese. So don't sort of blend the cheese, but you have to then use the mixer here. And then depending on the level of chunkiness you want, then that's how much you mix. I personally like it a little bit chunky. That's also why I left the carrots a bit bigger, so you get some texture and so on when you blend it in with the pasta. But that's a personal choice you can make. You can also make it completely smooth, like a soup almost. So now we are adding the pasta here into it. It needs most likely around 8 to 10 minutes for al dente. And if this becomes too thick, then you can just add some water to it. And it will become even more thick with the starch that's coming out from the pasta. You'll see it later. So really nice creamy texture. And after that, once the pasta is ready, it's ready to serve. So now the pasta is ready. As you can see, it's pretty thick. I'm going to just plate this here, and then put some extra Parmigiano on. You can see it's a very, very rustic dish. And we'll add some small sprinkles of rosemary. And then, of course, Parmigiano to taste. But since I don't have a spare hand, you just have to imagine me doing it. But that concludes the video of pasta e fagioli. And I'll add some final comments before we close. So this is the total cost of the pasta. As you can see, it's for 8 people. I think that's probably on the low side, because it's 4 liters in this Dutch oven. And if you skip the meat, you're probably going to go well below 70 cents per portion. So that's very, very cheap. So I hope you enjoyed my first video. It's first attempt. I'll probably do improvements to camera and everything else. And please post your questions and comments in the section there, and please subscribe. I'll be posting more videos as we come along, and just give me any feedback. Any feedback is always good feedback. So thank you very much for this video, and stay tuned.